While you're pondering it, maybe you should talk about Pearl a little bit. This being what the folks came to hear about.
Oh yeah, right. Forgot about that. I got distracted for some reason. Well, just the other day I did a video interview, and one of the questions was, if I got hit by a bus, have I designated anyone to take over?
Oh, no, you don't want to never do that. If you let someone know you have picked them as your successor, they might be tempted to drive the bus themselves. You know, that bus, the one with your name on it. So I vote 0.
Well, if you have to, I think you should appoint several successors since nobody has a little set of strengths. Say about, I don't know, 4 of them.
You mean kind of like Alexander the Great and his generals? No thanks. Hey, I thought you liked odd numbers.
No. You have to have an odd number, or you can't break ties. So I vote for 3, a triumvirate.
Oh, like in Rome. I don't know. Historically speaking, that didn't work out too well either. And I thought you liked even numbers. Anyway, what I told the interviewer was that when my number was up, I trusted the Pearl community to figure out the right thing to do.
You did?
I did.
And you do?
I said I did.
Yes, I know you said you did. But when you said you did you really did it? Or did you just say you did it?
Huh?
I think he means, were you fibbing about trusting the Pearl community?
Well, I wasn't Fibonacciing.
Not funny. Keep trying.
Or better yet, don't.
No, I don't think I was fibbing. I hope. In any case, I don't think I'll have much choice in the matter when the time comes. Maybe I meant it, maybe I didn't. I can argue it both ways.
He didn't really mean it.
I think he sincerely did mean it.
He didn't.
He did.
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 This won't go. Start!
Did.
Didn't.
Did.
Stop! Timing is everything. You were all my witnesses. The last thing my conscience told me was that I meant it, so I guess I did mean it.
Hey man, you don't cheat there.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
I don't what?
Arg! Look, could we please argue about something more important? Preferably something numeric and quantitative. You know, something a bit more in keeping with my position on the autistic spectrum.
Okay. Arrays should be 0 base.
No. Fortran and Enoch had it right, and we should start counting things at 1. Besides, they didn't invent 0 until just recently, and in the Bible, Sunday is considered the first day of the week, so I say 1.
Well, we don't count that way anymore. Unix geeks all know that Sunday is the 0th day. And on top of that, the first version of Perl was version 0. So, 0.
But the first real version of Perl was version 1. I was there, I should know, so it's 1.
Excellent. Just keep doing that. Now, where were we? Oh yes, we were still at the beginning. Onions. Round onions are shaped like a 0. Green onions are shaped like a 1. No, that wasn't it. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Onions. Yeah, right. Onions can make you cry. I wanted to talk about things that make you cry. Specifically, I wanted to talk today about disruptive technologies, but I keep getting disrupted. Okay, I disrupt myself. Please ignore these characters or we'll never get to the point. The notion of disruptive technologies, or disruptive innovations, as they are often called now, is about a decade and a half old. People argue a lot about what disruptive technologies or disruptive innovations actually are. Some people think the whole idea is a crock. Some people think we shouldn't try to be disruptive in any case. One thing's for sure though, almost everyone has labeled their technological advance as disruptive until the term has lost almost all of its usefulness. But I think there's at least a grain of truth remaining in the concept that perhaps the history of Perl illustrates. I think of an innovation as disruptive if it succeeds by simultaneously doing something worse and something better than its competitors. To me, the hallmark of a disruptive innovation is this: something that seemed obvious and important turned out not to be the case. Think of it as the inside-out version of the emperor's new clothes. Only this time, instead of the new clothes being invisible, everyone slowly comes to realize that the new clothes, even though they look a little funny, are good, and it's really the old clothes that are invisible. Before it is accepted, the new technology is dismissed as, say, a violation of Unix philosophy, or even, with skin cancer. Thank you, Henry Spencer. But a disruptive technology must do some things worse in order to do other things better. To the Unix nomenclatura of the time, early Perl seemed to violate the accepted reductionist principle of do one thing and do it well. And it didn't even try to do two or three things well. 2 versus 3. I wonder where my consciences have got to by now.
Adam and Eve.
The 3 wise men.
Abbott and Costello.
The 3 stooges.
Axel and Gretel.
The 3 little pigs.
Sonny and Cher.
Peter, Paul, and Mary.
I'm afraid this whole talk has turned into kind of a stream of conscience, as it were. Sorry about that. Let's let them stew for a little while longer, I guess. Anyway, back to interrupted technologies. Disrupted. Both of those are related to the word rupture, that is, to break. Certainly Perl has erupted, or broken out. It was very much intended to break with the past because the supposed Unix philosophy, do one thing and do it well, was actually broken in a couple of ways. First of all, nobody really knew what a thing was. And second, none of the Unix utilities at that time actually did their thing well, whatever it was. They were all full of arbitrary limits. They blew up if you overflowed the buffer or you fed them binary data. The shell provided pipes, sure, but the data had to be remarshaled between every pair of processes. And that was often a lot of wasted energy just to hook up utilities that didn't agree on data formats. And because you always had to marshal the data, you couldn't suspend judgment on how to put the data back together, other than by scattering all over the floor of your directory. Perl, when it came along, could scatter data on the floor of your program instead, where it was much, much handier. So basically, by the time Perl 4 turned into Perl 5, Perl had pretty well demonstrated that a single tool that was more of a toolbox or a toolshed could run rings around a typical shell script in terms of usability and performance. That was the part it did better. But Perl also bought into the whole worse is better philosophy, starting with something sloppy and just evolving it over time. In this way, Perl was very much like Unix itself and distilled into itself many of the memes of Unix culture. This turned out to be both a good thing and a bad thing. Uh-oh. 6 versus 5. They're not talking about what I think they're talking about, are they?
5 days max, I say.
No, it says, and I quote, 6 days shalt thou labor, and on the 7th thou shalt rest.
I really don't want to come into work on Saturday.
Well, of course not. Saturday is the 7th day.
I really don't want to work on the 0th day either.
Well, at least they're not talking about what I thought they were talking about.
And besides, Perl 6 is obviously better than Perl 5.
Not so fast. Perl 5 is in far better condition than Perl 6.
But 6 is intrinsically better than 5.
But 5 is better because it's worse.
What do you mean?
Everyone knows these days that the worse is better approach is better. So obviously, Perl 6's better approach is worse.
Wait a minute. So Perl 6 is disruptive insofar better is really better. That is, the fact that worse is better is what Perl 6 intentionally does worse in order to do better.
But better is better is better.
Worse and worse.
I don't know why you like bad endings so much. I bet you thought it was the tiger.
Of course, I've proven to my own satisfaction that could never have been the lady.
Silly, of course it was the lady. That princess had female sensibilities.
Nonsense. It was the tiger. The princess was a bloodthirsty, jealous barbarian.
I know it was the lady.
No way. Tiger.
Lady,
Tiger.
lady,
Tiger.
lady.
So I guess I'm not quite sure why Pearl 6 is a disruptive technology compared to Pearl 5. What I do know is that there's more to this disruption thing than just timing your development in the market. In California, where I live, we've had an episode of disruptive technology demonstrated by the ants. We used to have many different kinds of ants in California, each specialized to its niche, each colony with its own queen. But now, most of California is a single colony of Argentine ants. What's their secret? Basically, they forgot how to fight with each other. They're worse at that. A nest doesn't care if it shares multiple queens. Ants can wander from one nest to another, and they aren't kicked out. They have many leaders. And they welcome newcomers. They don't engage in turf protection battles because those are no fun. Does this sound familiar? This is the way in which Pearl culture is the same between Pearl 5 and Pearl 6. Well then, if Pearl 6 isn't worse that way, how is it worse? Other than the obvious, that it doesn't exist. Except that now it pretty much nearly does, what with Rakuto Star and all. At least a large, useful subset of it exists now. Also, obviously, Pearl 6 currently still runs very, very slowly. That will improve greatly. And Rakuto still has a lot of bugs. Those will get fixed. Those aren't the things Pearl 6 does worse on purpose, just sort of on accident. Perhaps the most useful, and perhaps the most purposeful way in which we're being worse is a strategy of not having a reference implementation. In some senses, this has delayed getting an initial version of Pearl 6 out, but it's also resulted in a much better design long term to have multiple cooperating implementations. Cooperating, yes. But I'm not sure I really want to view Pearl 6 as disruptive, except as an extension of how Pearl 5 has always been disruptive. I would like to think that that is my legacy, to build a culture of fun and creativity where people of all sorts are welcome, where, look out! It's a bus! What bus?
Oh dear.
Right.
What a mess.
Yeah. Gives new meaning to the term flatline.
What should we do?
What can we do?
Maybe they'll make him a saint.
Myself, I think they should go for the Chuck Norris image.
I prefer something more like Mother Teresa.
Chuck!
Teresa.
Chuck!
Teresa.
Chuck!
Teresa.
I can argue that both ways.
It's a miracle.
It's a whatever. And no wait, it's a renaissance. I can deal with it. What are you doing back here, sir?
Well, it's a little bit embarrassing.
Let me guess. Heaven and hell both thought you were too disruptive.
I wasn't going to say it.
Well, not exactly. What's really going on is that they're planning a little upgrade of the Celestial Railroad. And they were doing a switching upgrade, and they were waiting until Pearl 6 comes out. So I basically got sent back here with a grade of incomplete.
Well, what's left to do then?
Mostly community things, really. People are still fighting over whether Pearl 6 should have a different name.